Arcade Hellraiser here in another PvP video. This one of a slightly different color. Now I'm backing this with a PvP run I just did in Seas, and I wanted to do this video on the basis of a long discussion that was done on Limit Break Radio regarding match fixing, match throwing in PvP in the Feast. And it was a rather substantial discussion with respect to what could be done about it. And the fact of the matter is a lot of things were discussed, but the fact of the matter is, if you take an honest look at the terms of service, you take an honest look at player conduct, and some of the things that were discussed on Limit Break Radio, this was this week's episode, I want to say 58, as they discussed 255 and the Feast, and some of the other things that were brought into this game. In no real uncertain terms, you have two options. You either have to deal with this as a terms of service issue, as game disruption 3.2, or you have to remove the tomes. Basically, what is routinely happening in many PvP matches now is the players are simply going in and laying down so that in about 90 seconds or so, they can get their tomes, like 20 lower tomes a match. That not only is game disruption against the players who do want a PvP, it is also game disruption in that particular match. It is game disruption against every other player in the PvP ladder, especially when these matches start logistically counting. There is no polite way to put this. And then Juxta, later in the discussion, made a very good point. It's like, okay, if you're going to make, effective AFKing in a Feast match actionable under the terms of service, then I can just go and start playing poorly. Well, you know what that's eventually going to mean. It's going to mean exactly what, and I think, and you're almost admitted what I've wanted him to admit pretty much all along with this get good bullshit, is at some point in this equation, you are going, if you are in his position, you are going to have to make bad gameplay actionable on the terms of service. You are going to have to make it a penalizable situation to suck. Doesn't matter whether it's PvP, PvE, raiding dungeons, the Feast, doesn't matter. But if you're going to stand up here and you're going to say, we're going to do that, then at some point in the equation, you're no longer going to be able to have players not disrupt the gameplay of others and of the entire PvP system. I mean, here's something I think people are really going to need to take a very real look at as time goes on. I think that there are very few actual PvPers in Final Fantasy XIV. Shockingly few. The lack of intelligence I see in almost every match I am is disgusting. And if you want to claim I'm not the best player, hey, fine. But stupidity is stupidity, and the fact of the matter is, if there's just not any degree of quality of gameplay. I mean, I'll give this as an example right now. Yeah, we got 2 tomes here, but we are 100+ points behind. Adders is effectively feeding Maelstrom in this match, and everybody knows it. At some point in this equation, you would think, wouldn't we push Maelstrom to try to get... But no, we're just sitting around like a bunch of goddamn bumps in a stump. And Maelstrom wins the match. By the way, yes, I have switched to Flames. Take a look at more batter bullshit to see why. But to get back on subject, if you're going to functionally tell me conceptually that it's okay to effectively rig these matches, at some point in this equation, you're effectively going to have to say, look, disruption of another person's game, disruption of the entire concept of Final Fantasy XIV, whether it be PvE, PvP, etc., would have to be then declared legal. Because you're not going to be able to do it without enforcement. And then on top of enforcement, you know, one person basically said, oh, don't give them any rewards till they get to bronze. Well, I mean, what's going to stop them from doing it here? Sure, it's going to make the queues here shorter. The one that I just got in to do this is like 35 minutes, prime time Pacific time US, on a Thursday night. But the fact of the matter is, at some fundamental point in the process, you're just going to have to get rid of the tone rewards. You get rid of me playing PvP. You get rid of the other players who are simply tone farming playing PvP. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. You get rid of us, and I think you're going to be very negatively surprised as to how few people are actually playing PvP. I'm beginning to have a very real belief that because of the stupidity of the player base and the number of people that are actually playing PvP, that PvP is becoming a massive misallocation of resources by Square Enix, unless there's some degree of, you know, situation going on here. You know, there's another bunch of Gridania dimwits that basically really shouldn't even be allowed on the field. Now he's just going to walk right into the other ones so that he can feed himself to them. It's just like, are you serious? Are you even trying at this juncture? And again, they're not AFK. Technically, by the rules, they're legal. But at some point in the equation, you know, if you're going to say, you know, we need to deal with win trading, you are eventually going to have to deal with quality of play. You're eventually going to have to deal with, whether the tomes should be around at all. You know, I mean, this match turned into a joke. You had one team feeding and the other team not even watching the goddamn scoreboard. It was a joke. It wasn't even worth playing. You know, and this is happening far, far, far too damn often. 1, enforce 3-2, or you will lose the feast. 2, get rid of all tome bonuses. Find out how many PvPers you have, because I'll tell you right now, and I will be as honest as I can be, I think Square Enix has horrifically misallocated the resources to PvP, not because of the fact that I hate PvP, and I do hate PvP, let's be honest, but it's not simply that. It's simply a function of, I don't think there are that many remotely legitimate PvP players playing Final Fantasy XIV. At least not in the North American servers. I think there's so few it's a joke, and it's one of the reasons you see matches like this all the damn time. And it's just, it is stupid. Now let's watch this. So he's going to do that. Yeah, he doesn't even get to the end of the thing, you know. I've got him stunned, and there you go, and all that kind of crap. But so there's my thoughts on the match fixing in PvP. You're either going to have to enforce 3-2, get rid of the tomes, or both. It's that simple. Stargate Hellraiser.